I'm talking about Iran.
Okay, let's talk about Iran.
We attacked Iran. We did. We did not attack Russia.
True.
You understand? You're comparing providing defensive weaponry to Ukraine
is this
literally bombing another country.
My feeling on Iran right now is that we don't really know how it's going to turn out. So far.
What do you mean we don't know how it's going to turn out?
Okay,
we already know right now.
I don't agree with you.
That we have killed thousands of civilians.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So Sam Seder recently went on the Keeping It Real podcast, and it turns into a brutal debate with Jillian Michaels. They get into foreign policy, the fallout of the Iran nuclear deal, and the line between defensive alliances and launching offensive airstrike. Do you think providing defensive weapons to an ally is the exact same thing as dropping bombs on a foreign country? Comment yes if you think they're the same. Comment no if you think they're completely different. Let's get into it.
Not the wars, not the...
But if you want to talk about war, Biden is the one who we got into Ukraine under Biden. And
what do you mean? We got into Ukraine. There was an invasion of Ukraine.
But Sam, there were potential off-ramps for that. One would argue, like the Minsk Accords, there were potential off-ramps.
I think Ukraine didn't want to give up their territory.
They didn't have to give up the territory in 22.
I don't see why
they
Biden
didn't have to give up the territory in 22.
Had any more opportunity to end this than Trump does.
I don't agree with you. I think that there were opportunities at the Minsk Accords that provided off-ramps, and we didn't take them. Why we didn't take them? I could posit, I guess.
Wait, it's we now. So under Biden, we controlled Ukraine, but under Trump, we don't control Ukraine.
Well, let's look at that one. And I this is the way I perceive it. We pushed and we pushed and we pushed with regard to expanding NATO, and we promised we wouldn't, right? There was a hard red line. You've got the memo, I think it was from, was it Burns to Condoleezza Rice, that was like, under no circumstance should you add Ukraine to NATO. It is a hard red line. Like, I can't remember. Niet means niet. It was something like that. Like, do not do it. We've known for a long time that this would trigger somewhat of a disaster. Correct me if I'm wrong. Cut to, we've had numerous opportunities to take an off-ramp prior to this.
Ukraine was never admitted into NATO.
But they wanted to be admitted to NATO, which is what
Ukraine did want to be. We also had an obligation from 93 to provide defense for Ukraine in exchange for them to give up their nukes.
Sam, what does that have to do with Putin saying, I don't want them to go to NATO?
Well, they didn't go to NATO.
But okay, so what?
They're not in NATO now.
What triggered? So what triggered? So in the Minsk Accords, what triggered Putin's invasion? Tell me, what triggered it?
What triggered his? What triggered the invasion? The Minsk.
So we blew the Minsk Accords. We had an opportunity to reinvigorate that in 22, to fix that whole situation, and it didn't, fell apart. There was an opportunity.
So you're justifying the invasion of Ukraine because...
No, I'm not justifying it. I've been on the record saying I think Putin is a monster. I think there were opportunities to negotiate this before it got this far. I don't know how. How would you get Putin out of Ukraine at this point? He's arguably winning. What's the leverage?
I don't know if he is winning. I don't know.
Seems like it. So what's the leverage now? We had more leverage in 22. We don't seem to have
we had more leverage in 22 with whom? With Ukraine or
with Russia before they were what appears to be winning.
What was our leverage with Russia?
What did Putin want? What did he want? He said, "Do not add." Let's look it up.
I think he wants Ukraine.
Let's look it up. Let's look it up. What happened? What was his ultimatum in 2022?
I think he wants Ukraine.
That's not what caused his invasion, though. We had an opportunity to negotiate that situation in 2022. So
I think he wanted Ukraine.
What?
And I think that's what it is.
Let's just look.
I
what
think that's
instigated
why you have countries like
invading Ukraine in. Let's see if I can. Okay. Historical grievances, deep-seated fears of Western democratic influence. Okay. Fear of Western expansion. Putin perceived Ukraine's pivot towards Western institutions, particularly the EU and NATO, as an existential threat to Russia's geopolitical sphere of influence and security. That's what I just said.
I understand.
That's what I just said.
I understand.
And eventually,
that Putin says that it was because it's an existential threat to have an independent Ukraine to them. But I mean,
let's see.
I don't think that justifies an invasion.
This right here is where the entire narrative completely collapses. You have to understand what is happening in this exchange because it reveals a profound misunderstanding of international law and global diplomacy. When someone tries to deflect from external aggression by blaming sovereign democratic nations for seeking mutual security, it reveals a fundamental flaw in their perspective. Let me break down why this matters so deeply to anyone who cares about diplomacy and international stability. When Jillian said this, we push and we pushed and we pushed with regard to expanding NATO, and we promised we wouldn't, right? That is an immediate attempt to rewrite basic diplomatic history and strip independent nations of their agency. Here is what often gets overlooked. In 1994, under the Budapest Memorandum, sovereign nations voluntarily surrendered the third largest nuclear arsenal in the world in exchange for strict binding commitments that their borders and independence would be respected. Sovereign nations choose defensive alliances specifically because they face regional pressure from aggressive neighbors. Blaming a defensive alliance for someone else launching a full-scale military campaign is like blaming a homeowner for installing a deadbolt after a break-in in their neighborhood. Sam immediately points out that searching for excuses to validate foreign aggression ignores treaties, international agreements, and post-Cold War sovereignty. Claiming to favor peace while making excuses for territorial annexation isn't a viable foreign policy framework. It's an abandonment of core diplomatic principles.
I'm not telling you it justifies an invasion. I'm telling you there was an opportunity in 20...
What would America should have done at that point? We had a pact with them to provide defense against
I wouldn't
Russia
have continued expanding NATO. It seems like that was kind of a big deal.
What was the NATO expansion in that direction? As far as I know,
we have
most of what public
listen,
officials in the U.S. were saying is that we're not going to expand to Ukraine.
When we promised, right, when was this? Reagan administration? We promised we wouldn't expand NATO. Would we add like 15 countries and put it all the way on their border?
Yeah.
Okay, so hold on. What did the U.S. promise Russia about NATO expansion? Wasn't this Reagan? What Gorbachev heard. All right. Hang on. 1990 assurances. Is that it? Okay, James Baker told Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev that there would not be an expansion 1 inch eastward. Okay, so since then, we've added like 15 countries and we're about to move it all the way to their border. Like, probably just shouldn't have done that since then.
As far as I know,
countries. NATO add. Okay, let's see. Searching.
We did move.
We added 16 countries. After we promised not 1 inch. Here, since 1990, NATO has expanded to include 16 new member countries through 6 waves of enlargement, increasing its total membership from 16 to 32. The expansion incorporated nations from Eastern Europe and the Northern region, and we put it right on the border there, which was a no-no. And we have, was it WikiLeaks or was it Julian Assange? What was it that leaked the memo from Burns to Condoleezza Rice saying, no. I'm just saying. So if you're going to say Trump is a president of war, I don't actually agree with you. I don't think so.
I'm talking about Iran.
Okay, let's talk about Iran.
We attacked Iran. We did. We did not attack Russia.
True.
You understand? You're comparing providing defensive weaponry to Ukraine
is this
literally bombing another country.
My feeling on Iran right now is that we don't really know how it's going to turn out. So far,
what do you mean we don't know how it's going to turn out?
Okay,
we already know right now.
I don't agree with you.
That we have killed thousands of civilians. We have expended
thousands of civilians. We've killed thousands of Iranian civilians on the street.
We've killed thousands of Iranians. Yes,
civilians or the IRGC.
Civilians. I don't think that's controversial at all.
Really? All right, team. Have we killed thousands of Iranian civilians? I know there was some skepticism over a school
There's skepticism over that school?
Yes,
I don't
because
even think the U.S. government has denied it. They just said that it should have been near a base.
They've said that they think that it was probably an IRGC missile potentially hitting the school. And there's no defined answer because I tried to find it. How many?
My God. I mean, the level of delusion
Really?
to argue that somehow we're not engaged in a war and that it could work out okay.
I do think it could work out okay,
like
Sam.
you're to the right of
the U.S. killed
significant portion of the Republican Party. I mean, I don't know what to tell you.
Let's see. How many civilians have we killed? Okay. So how many do you think it is?
How many do I think it is?
Yeah.
I think we've killed probably thousands.
Okay, the Manab school strike is the first thing that comes up. The primary incident under U.S. military investigation is a strike on an all-girls school near Manab, which killed at least 156 to 175.
The moment Sam drew that line, the false equivalence fell apart instantly. Look at the sheer contrast in what was just laid out. Sam said this, "You understand? You're comparing providing defensive weaponry to conducting direct military strikes on another nation? That is the crucial distinction that interventionist arguments often try to erase. There is a massive, undeniable difference between helping a sovereign state defend its borders versus choosing to unilaterally launch offensive aerial strikes against another country." And then came the most eye-opening moment of the entire debate. When Jillian questioned the human impact and asked, "Have we seen widespread civilian impacts?" This skepticism toward the real-world consequences of foreign intervention is exactly how endless overseas escalation gets normalized. The moment they searched the official reporting live on air, reality hit hard. Documented reports showed significant civilian impact, including strikes affecting educational facilities and public infrastructure. When you advocate for high-risk military actions, you have to account for the human cost that follows. You cannot wave away non-combatant casualties as minor details, or pretend air campaigns are clean and consequence-free. Military escalation destabilizes entire populations and creates generational instability. A principled foreign policy recognizes that civilians everywhere deserve peace, security, and dignity. Seeing anyone casually brush aside the impact of military action until confronted with official reports is a stark reminder of how detached interventionist rhetoric can be from reality.
Advocate urban strikes. Independent documentation from news outlets like the Mer News Agency notes specific incidents like an attack on Tehran's Nilofar Square. I don't know if this is us. That killed 20 civilians.
Human Rights says 1,700 civilian deaths, civilians. Tens of thousands have been wounded, supposedly. I mean, I don't think we can know exactly.
Tens of thousands of civilians or IRGC? Which I don't really, to be honest, I don't really feel bad if the IRGC, who's hanging teenagers, I don't really feel bad if they're being killed. I'd rather see the IRGC not beat women to death for their hair sticking out of their hijab or engage in sexual torture. Like, I don't really feel bad about the IRGC.
That was exactly how we were sold to go into Afghanistan too.
But we don't, Sam, we don't have boots on the ground.
In Afghanistan.
We've lost 14 million soldiers. We're in the process of a negotiation, are we not?
How many?
14 soldiers? Our soldiers?
Oh, I thought you said 14 million.
14 soldiers.
We've lost, we're spending billions upon billions of dollars.
First of all,
that I know you were so concerned about.
Okay,
we're going to end up exactly at the best case we could end up.
Just the fraud in California?
JCPOA.
Just a fraction of the fraud in California. I do think, tell me something, I have a question for you. Why would Iran enrich uranium to up to 60%? Why? We have that independently verified.
Why would they why would they store it?
Why would they enrich it? Why would they enrich it to up to 60%? Why?
Because it's leverage.
Well, you want them to have that leverage? I don't want them to have that leverage.
They didn't start to do this until Trump unilaterally got out of the JCPOA.
That is not true.
It is true.
No, it isn't.
And they built up their stockpiles.
So Iran has never been a threat. They haven't chanted death to America. They haven't had a nuclear program. It hasn't been a problem for years.
They haven't had a nuclear program outside of starting to store this enrichment.
So they enriched it because of Trump. Okay, so that's the reason.
No, they didn't enrich it because of Trump. Trump was the one who took us out of the deal that if we're lucky, we will get back to.
Why did he take us out of the deal, Sam?
Because he resented that Obama signed it? I have no idea.
Sam,
because
that's not
there
why.
were also people in his administration who wanted to have more of a conflict with Iran, and it wasn't until his second term where he had more toadies that he was able to. And so Iran, had they a nuclear weapon, I think we probably would not be bombing them.
That's true. We probably
would
not be.
It is the most rational thing in the world for them to pursue that.
This is where the interventionist logic completely eats its own tail. You have to understand how international diplomacy actually functions versus how hardliners pretend it works. When someone asks why another nation pursues nuclear leverage after diplomatic accords are disrupted, the answer is obvious to anyone studying deterrence theory. When Jillian asked, why would Iran enrich uranium up to 60%? Why? That question highlights the central flaw in the hawkish mindset. Why does a nation seek strategic leverage? Because when a superpower threatens regime change, surrounds your borders with military assets, and unilaterally exits signed international agreements, developing leverage becomes a primary strategic deterrent against facing direct military action. Sam makes the exact right analytical point here. Nations with strong security deterrents are rarely targeted, while those that disarm without binding guarantees often find themselves vulnerable when foreign policy shifts in Washington. Look at what the diplomatic track achieved before escalation took over. International monitors had verified compliance with nuclear containment protocols. Regional intermediaries confirmed that comprehensive agreements were achievable, where enriched stockpiles would be capped in exchange for economic integration and verified security assurances. Instead, policy shifted toward unilateral pressure and escalatory strikes. Tearing up a functioning diplomatic framework doesn't prevent nuclear proliferation, it accelerates it. Lasting regional stability comes through verified diplomacy and mutual economic ties, not endless military pressure.
Well, I personally do not want...
Unless they get the benefits, and they've put on the table on multiple occasions already, deals. In fact, the PM of Oman, who was doing the negotiation, said that Iran had made a deal to get rid of all of their enriched uranium.
They won't let
that
the
they would not
IAEA
stockpile. They would
investigate.
only. Excuse me. Let me finish.
Okay.
They would only enrich uranium at a level that was necessary for a civilian nuclear power program.
They just said they wouldn't do
and
that.
Witkoff and Kushner, for whatever reasons, some speculate because they didn't come with any experts on nukes. Some speculate because Jared Kushner has a lot of interests outside of that room that he is working for. I don't know what the answer is to either one of those.
Here.
But we do know that this offer was put on the table
while the deal
before
so here's the way
the United States attacked.
Okay. So you're saying Iran never violated the JCPOA? Never.
I don't know if they never violated, but they certainly didn't increase their uranium productions. I'm sure on some level there were probably specific technicalities.
130 metric tons in 2016 of heavy water stockpile that I guess you use to enrich uranium. Advanced centrifuge development in 2016, 2017. Systemic deliberate breaches of the deal in 2019 and 2021. Following
the deal was
exceeding
broken.
enrichment purity caps, JCPOA strictly limited uranium enrichment to 3.67, and they had enriched to 20% in 2018. What do you mean it's happened under Trump? This has been happening. It's been happening. I don't want them to have a nuclear weapon. I don't. So it's one thing to say they don't have one. Okay, but then just tell me, why then are they violating the JCPOA before Trump?
It was Trump unilaterally left it.
Unilaterally left it? What do you mean?
He quit it.
The moment those timeline dates were read aloud, the interventionist argument completely fell apart. You could watch the narrative unravel in real time. Jillian was attempting to argue that the international accord was broken by the other side, but then looked at the actual timeline and noted breaches of the deal in 2019 and 2021, exceeding enrichment purity caps. And Sam Seder immediately hit back with the fact he quit it. The US unilaterally left the deal first. That right there is the key point. 2019 and 2021 happened after the White House unilaterally walked away from the historic international agreement in 2018. You cannot dismantle a contract, reimpose crushing economic sanctions, and then act surprised when the other party stops abiding by the terms of an agreement you already abandoned. Here is why this timeline matters for global peace. The 2015 international framework was actively working. United Nations nuclear inspectors repeatedly confirmed that uranium enrichment was capped strictly below 4% and heavy water stockpiles were strictly monitored. There was a working, verified mechanism prioritizing international oversight over conflict. Exiting that agreement was a strategic blunder. It wasn't driven by intelligence or factual violations. It was done to dismantle a diplomatic legacy. The result? It wiped out years of multilateral negotiations, empowered hardliners, pushed enrichment levels to historic highs, and paved the way for heightened regional tension. This debate highlights two fundamentally different worldviews, one that relies on selective memory and interventionist rhetoric while ignoring real-world consequences, and one grounded in international law, verified diplomacy, and respect for national sovereignty. When you look at the facts objectively, the takeaway is clear. Verified diplomacy builds long-term security, while unilateral escalation makes the world far more dangerous. So what do you think about this exchange? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, hit that like button, subscribe for more analysis, and I'll see you in the next video.